emerge the turn you play it. So it does seem a little bit clunky as far as Shadow Priest versions go, but it does have some, some bigger hitters. With double Thrive in the deck, the Man-Crick plus Thrive combo is more likely. Kazakus is a very flexible card. You can use it to kill one big thing, like an Earth Elemental on 5 by trying to go for the 1-mana Poisonous. You can, on 5, also use it to get a 1-mana buff your board. If you know your board's going to stick, you can play it, get a 5 cost, and go for an even bigger buff or some kind of tempo swing. It gives a comeback mechanic potentially in a deck that doesn't otherwise have one. One of the other awkward things to note is it only runs 2 spells, 3 if you include Man-Crick, with Raise Dead and Thrive. So it has a little bit of anti-synergy. Let's say you pull a Raise Dead from Twilight Deceptor, all of a sudden one of the Thrive in the Shadows in your deck is dead. So in a deck like this, you oftentimes don't want to be having any dead draws at any point in the game. But he's running it for the consistency of Man-Crick and just for the consistency of always making sure that he has a Raise Dead at some point in the game.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how that goes out. He has the Man-Crick, it's a big deal. And that combo sounds sort of convoluted, but actually it's much cleaner in action than it sounds when you're describing it. The fact you get an extra card once you get the Enraged Man-Crick from it means you actually get quite a lot of value, which aggro decks struggle to get any sort of value in general. So one card getting you some value is a nice deal. But Nalguidan's going to have to show me here why Kazakus is good, because it's kind of the good card in his hand alongside his Man-Crick. Dimitri, by the way, got his chair further forward than usual today, more upright. He normally sort of slumps and slouches a bit. That hat's usually very visible, but he's so far forward today that the hat in the background, the Nalguidan style hat, sorry, Monsanto style hat, is almost obscured. So he's full on concentrating today, and he looks awake. Yesterday he looked like he knew he was going to win all along. He looked a bit bored.
Neil, this is the kind of attention to detail that I love to see.
Well, a whole 2 turns explanation of the relative distance between the hat and Dimitri's head.
I had no idea there was even a hat there, so bravo, sir. Bravo.
Which is great, because I actually mentioned it to you in week 1.
Yeah.
Shows how much I get attention paid to me.
Whenever there's a
here.
balance patch, I forget everything from the previous week. It just goes away. Right. It completely resets. And
that's a good point.
I actually did know there was a hat there.
Because otherwise you end up like Sottle living in the past, back in the days when that deck he likes did the thing that it did. And, you don't want to be that. Anyway.
Use that for emphasis.
Nalguidan looks like he's going to show us what Kazakus can do, because the rest of his cards can't do it.
Oh, stealth. Oh.
Oh, actually, 2 cards.
None of the other ones are particularly good. I guess draw 2 cards, stealth draw 2 cards. He's going to be playing this a little bit slow, though. If he spends 5 mana building a 5/5, we're rapidly approaching Flesh Giant territory, of which he does not have much in the ways of dealing with it.
Brace it. I hope it doesn't hit you twice.
Oh, Divine. Okay, you got Divine Shield.
Or lose. Because this Tamsin's doing so much work.
Yep. Now we have a Flesh Giant next turn. Maybe even plus some. Flesh Giant. We down to 5 with a Life Tub. We down to 4 with any other. If Tamsin sticks, we're looking at other things. But I think Tamsin is sort of a must-kill target in this situation. Nalguidan has the answer with Guardian Og Merchant, and then we'll probably just play double Imprisoned Homunculus here. But that is exceptionally slow. In fact, maybe he deviates and goes Wriggling Horror. Ugh. Get me! Get me out! Just brutal.
Yep. But he might have 2 cards to come.
So he can actually fit in everything because he's one I think he's 1 damage away from quest completion, if I'm not mistaken. So he could Mortal Coil tap, and then Flesh Giant would reduce down to 3. Could actually even get greedier if he goes Tour Guide, tap. Right, because this was 5 out of 6, 6 out of 6. Flesh Giant goes down to 3. Unstable Shadow Bolt brings it down to 2. So could Unstable Shadow Bolt the Aug Merchant, Mortal Coil, and Flesh Giant.
Sure. And save the raised dead if it dies, and be a long, long way in front.
Yep. There's more options. Could go like touch, but I think going for Unstable Shadow Bolt is.
Oh, he won't Shadow Bolt because he hasn't seen the Golem yet. He knows there's a Golem, so that's actually a legitimate removal spell for once, rather than a self damaging spell.
True. Very true. All right, let's draw some cards.
That's an upgrade. Probably.
All right.
That is active.
But it only gains 1 health. What a rubbish card.
It has to gain 1 health.
He's on 29. Now he's on 26. Now it's a better.
Oh, okay, I see.
See where I'm going? You've got to think like a Neil. Now he can gain 6, so he's made that card so much better, all through his own hard work.
And just plot. Honestly, I don't even know if he needs to use it here. He can just plop a bunch of big things on the board.
Yeah, and that's plenty, right? That's how you beat aggro decks. If you're high enough health, which he absolutely is, just have more big things, and they don't have any in their deck, and so yours win. It really is that straightforward. Obviously, in Grandmasters, he's going to make sure that he gets every 0.1% out of it as well. But on ladder, he'd just be throwing cards all over the place now and win the game the next turn.
That is my correction.
6 health gained, TJ. Look at that. Perfect. Not a health wasted.
Yep, and that'll be a scoop. I mean, when Shadow Priest hits, it hits.
Yes.
When Shadow Priest misses, oh boy, does it miss.
You just sit there looking at these tiny fins and desk imps, like, why did I do this to myself today? But yeah, sometimes, like you say, that's it, just over in 4 or 5 turns.
Yeah. It's funny because you can play against the deck and win, and Shadow Priest feels like the best deck in the game. And then you play against the exact same deck and player in another game right after, and it feels like the worst deck in the game. Pretty crazy.
Something I like about this meta in general, personally, and I know that, the meta's been quite a divisive one in a lot of ways, but personally, I love this meta because what you just said, you can have a quick game of Hearthstone, you can absolutely destroy someone, you can feel great, then you can get sort of beaten up, and it's like, okay, well, that was my turn. Then you go back and you murder somebody else, and you take it in turns just to have fun, as far as I can see. That's my take, and I understand that's not everybody's take, but I really enjoy it for that reason. Like, everybody gets a turn at feeling happy.
And then there's D6 Warlock, which, you watch players like Gabby and Bly's play it, and you're like, wow, I can see why everybody says this is the best deck in the game. And then you try it, and you hit the perfect hand, right? You rip the free admission, get Dark Lair Stealer, you're super ready, you pop off on 5, you get everything on the board right away, your turn ends, you've discarded Tamsin, you're at 5 health, and you've done nothing.
Yep. It's
and
like
your opponent, like, Wicked Stab dagger hits you, and you die. And you played like your whole deck.
You take a small child to, like, a juggling festival, and there's bottles with broken glass being juggled and fire and stuff. And then you get home, leave them unattended for 30 seconds, and there's glass everywhere, and the house is on fire, and there's kids running around. And yeah, that's me trying to pilot that deck. Even though when you watch Gabby do it, it's just like really easy. All the bottles are just constantly in the air. It's fantastic.
It's kind of funny because it's the opposite of your analogy, because Gabby is the child and he's the one executing. And
This is
you're the
awesome.
one who's going home and trying it yourself and making a mess of things. So
Yeah, I'd forgotten about that aspect of things. That's completely unfair and very, very true.
yep.
Right, where are we? What's happening? What am I doing here? Why am I sat in front of this camera talking about things? Oh yeah, Hearthstone. Okay. So, Nalguidan putting on the pressure with the Hunter. Trying to time the neophyte for the maximum effect against the coin, of course, is an important aspect of this.
Yep. Going on one, because that probably stops more damage than what you would have done on two anyway, which would have he would have had to play off curve no matter what and wouldn't have taken any damage in the interim, is I guess the best way to put it. So either way, it's kind of net the same amount of mana floated, but he gains 1 health in that scenario.
Tough decision, because he can go neophyte into neophyte against a player with a coin here and just put so much pressure on. But he's giving up 2 of his best cards, his Warsong Wrangler, which is his best pressure card, and the Piercing Shot, which is his best closing card. So he's relying on neophyte into neophyte getting this done. Or at least getting a large, chunky portion of it done.
Yep. Plays Tamsin. Interesting. I felt like in that situation I would have played the Bloodshard Bristleback. Because it's still like this must-kill target, has the upside of gaining health, whereas Tamsin has huge upside a little bit further down the line. Though, if he expects Nalguidan to kind of develop around this, maybe value trade into it, if he expects to Soul Rend next turn, then he's going to cycle through a lot of his deck anyway, especially with Backfire in hand, so maybe he thinks that the Bloodshard Bristleback will actually become active before this game ends, which fat chance.
Yeah.
Now Nalguidan gets to do both. He gets to kill this because the Volpertinger value trades into it, and Cult Neophyte, stopping the Soul Rend. And at least he has a Knoll.
More bones to gnaw.
Nalguidan's like, I have a Piercing Shot and an Adorable Infestation. This game is
Nolan
over. Da-dum-dum. I like doing the percussion sting when there's actually not a joke to sting.
Yeah.
In a way, that's a joke in and of itself. So if you look at it in that way, a percussion sting is always correct, because either it's stinging the end of a joke or the sting itself is the joke. Genius.
It's amazing. So you can't actually. So what's the what would be the appropriate drumming action for not actually a joke? Otherwise, because now we know the sting is always a joke.
Great question. Don't know the answer. What I do know the answer to is the outcome of this game
Who's going to be this game, TJ?
is dead. Oh, real dead. Dead on board to a weapon and a hero power.
Deader than some doo-doos.
Yeah. And
On game.
that's last year's standing for you.
Yep, you get to queue up the best chance, at least at the start of the match, you get to queue up the best thing for you. As the match goes on, of course, if you lose one of those, that's why we talk about it so much, you lose one of those favourables and the wheels come off mighty quickly. But yep, in general, you get these very polarised matchups. Again, meta-dependent. Sometimes some of the metas, there isn't a polarised matchup, and then it becomes a bit like Conquest and you don't feel like you've got a bit of a mix-up. But this week we are seeing a lot of 3-2s and a lot of people going win, lose, win, lose, win, lose. And it all comes down to the fifth game, and that's when your lineup resolves itself and you see who's brought the best lineup.
Yep. So this list I like better than Nalguidan's, because it does have a little bit more payoff, because it adds in a... No, it doesn't add it in. He's not playing it either. It's the same list.
What were you going to say, TJ? Might as well.
I thought this played the Argent Squire.
Don't see many of them.
I feel like if you play Overseer, you should play Squire.
I agree entirely.
One drop.
Agree entirely. Habu Gabu has been sort of the player for Shadow Priest in the top 100 over the last 2 or 3 weeks since the release, and he is playing the Argent Squire and the Orc Merchant. It seems natural to me that if you've got all these buff cards that need minions to stick on board to buff them, like Overseer is just a tragic waste of time if your minions are dead. So yeah, put some Divine Shields on there. Argent Squire's fine. It's 1 mana. It's 1/1. It has to be killed twice. It's good. I mean,
yeah.
Where are we? I'm calling Argent Squire good, but you know what I mean. You know how I got there.
This is much closer to the perfect 30, in my opinion. You know, I come up here and I, spout off a bunch of reasons why I don't like things, but I also spout off a bunch of reasons why I do like things when players do it in ways that I think is optimal. I think Dimitri is like 2 cards away from the perfect 30. He's a Thrive cut and a something else cut, maybe second Neophyte, metagame dependent, cut away from the perfect 30, adding in Argent Squires, or at least 1 Thrive cut and 1 Argent Squire in, I think is closer. But
you don't like his last pathetic
opinion.
card, do you? You just like the other 29.
Yeah. And this, one of those Thrives is pretty much dead. Unless he draws exactly Mancrick, one of those Thrive in the Shadows is dead. Now, this is a terrible pan out for it, but the redundancy is only sometimes necessary, I think. Meanwhile, Nalguidan, I think he's got a reasonable curve. He goes coin Mancrick into aim shot. The problem with that is maybe he feels like he has to aim shot now to stop some damage. But
also, if the 2/3 gets buffed again, it might start getting out of range, which would be really irritating for him.
Oh, okay.
If that becomes a 3/4, then he starts wasting his turn 4 with piercing shots to get rid of it, and the game kind of gets away from him then, right?
Yeah. This is probably Hero Power Tour Guide.
I wonder.
Hero Power then Tour Guide.
I'm thinking of. I've been exposed to too much Raven over the last few weeks, I think, because I'm thinking about shooting my own Wriggling Horror so I can buff the things I get back with Raised Dead.
You can just do that now. Oh, wow. Raised Dead for 1 minion.
Yeah? It's a good minion, though.
Power!
And he's going to have a lot of chances to Raise Dead, or at least 1 more chance to Raise Dead, so... Oh, he holds. Now I'm curious what he has planned.
This. So now he trades in Wriggling Horror, Hero Powers, Thrives, jams the Raised Dead again, gets back Void Touched and Wriggling Horror again, and then uses the 2 mana that he has available to Wriggling Horror, the Void Touched Attendant and the Tour Guide. And then has a second Attendant in hand.
Yeah, or play the Attendant and buff both Attendants, and that's quite an awkward situation too, even though it's 1 less immediate damage.
Yeah, well, he wouldn't be able to do that now because he only has 2 mana available. But he could play the Attendant now and the Homunculus.
Yeah, if he doesn't play the Homunculus now, it's a card that never gets played in this game. Which is fair enough. That's not a criticism, by the way, because he's got plenty of damage coming in, and Nalguidan can only pick off 1 minion a turn, most likely. That's a big pickup, though. How does he weave it in, though?
He doesn't. Kills the Attendant. Damage persists because the effect happens before the minion actually dies, so he gets an extra damage. Oh!
Homunculus feels a little bit wasted now.
Oh yeah, you telling me. Let's see, how much damage does he push? 6, 7, 8, 9 if he wants to fit in a hero power? It's a good chunk. It's a good chunk.
What's he going to do with this cool Tyrann chap?
I think he just throws it on the Void Touch.
Yep, make it as big as possible.
Consider.
Take as little damage as possible from things like rhinos.
I think the bigger question is, does he play the Vulgar Homunculus? But I think the time has passed for the Vulgar Homunculus. I think it's time to clock him.
Also has the chance to... Oh, he doesn't. He can't play a third Raised Dead because that's not how the rules of the game work, actually. I was going to thrive for a Raised Dead, but no, you're not. That's just not how it works.
Is it a genius to put it on something other than the Void?
Yes.
And then to play... Okay.
Because he gets piercing shotted or rhinoed anyway, so why put the extra health on it, right?
Well, to prevent more damage from coming at you, but...
But you're ahead in the race, so as long as you keep more minions on board, you're still ahead in the race. It's close, because this lot can get squashed.
I wonder.
Yeah. Honestly, I think Dimitri has it from here.
Yeah, he's got 8 next turn. In a world where he wants to just go face, which he may not want to do, of course. Like, if he just pushes everything face here and drops the Overseer, for instance, Nalguidan has to either clear up the whole board, because one minion hitting him would lose with the hero power, or kill Dimitri.
I wonder.
And both of those things seem unlikely. It's scary, but I think you just go all face here. And if your opponent, like I say, fulfills one of those two conditions, either kills you or removes all of your minions, or good luck to them. He's scared of the rifle getting explosive trap, that would do it. That's about it.
Well, if he plays rifle and gets explosive trap, he still is lethal over 2 turns. He can trade all of his minions in. And one of these minions would get buffed, so the Rhino would have to trade over that minion as well. So I think he still beats Rifle if he goes all face.
Good call. And something I've noticed about Dimitri, whenever we've had those long conversations where, you know, we have caster vision and he does not, as we look at this is going to be lethal or not.
Wow.
Still okay till this tracking.
Aim shot would have been... The first aim shot still loaded into the hero power, so that hero power deals 4. Second aim shot would have been an extra 5 damage. So 9 plus the 5. Wait, was aim shot lethal?
I think it was.
Yeah, aim shot was lethal. It's not lethal anymore.
Yeah, it was lethal. Dead, exact lethal.
Quick shot's 2 damage off.
Yep. Having just worked out that we needed 5, so yeah, that makes sense. Kills a minion. The Rhino can kill a minion.
Quickly.
Dimitri is having terrible time right now.
Oh. That's scary.
Oh, this can get charge? Rush, sorry.
It doesn't matter. You're still many damage short.
Getting closer. Ah, he gives it up. He could have given it up 3 cards ago, but yeah.
Yeah, that was very close. I'm sure there were more. I'm sure there were more outs for lethal or more combinations of cards. Aim shot was the simplest one. If that first tracking had hit a second aim shot, which was roughly a 1 and 3 in his deck because he had already played 1 and he had like 18 cards, 19 cards left. So it wasn't that likely of a scenario to happen, but very close nonetheless. And I think that Dimitri piloted that game quite well. Honestly, especially there at the end, setting up for the 2-turn lethal instead of sinking damage into the Rhino. Because there was a possibility that Nalguidan could have cleared the board with spells the next turn, and at 8 life, he might be able to just whittle down and get there with a beefed up hero power. So I like the recognition to just go for it. Now though, Nalguidan does get a. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
So before the wife turned up, that's where I was going with that. Is that whenever we've had those long chats about Dimitri and we've got caster vision and he has not, I think he gets it right a huge percentage of the time. Yeah, those judgment calls that you can't really say if they're right or wrong without knowing the exact state of your opponent's hand. He has very, very good gut instincts as to what's going on. But as you were about to say, this Shaman deck is a bit of a tough time for him.
That's the benefit of getting that counter queue. However, he did lose that first game, so he's kind of one counter queue behind. But I just said earlier, that's where the lineup kind of gets pieced together. Pretty much just looking for... I mean, there's a lot of cards that do it. Nalguidan also plays Earth Elemental in the list. That's a good one. Feral Spirits is really great because usually the minions are shaped in a way in Shadow Priest that does not get past Feral Spirits very easily. Perpetual Flame is the big one because usually you can set up for that to clear everything, or it just clears everything by itself. And this hand from DimitriKazov, I mean, anytime you see Benedictus, it's not a good hand.
Yeah, and I actually was going to suggest maybe he could keep the opening hand, and if Nalguidan has Perpetual Flame, pick up your cards and start game 5. Because that opening hand was going to be pretty aggressive. All the minions were going to end up on approximately 3 health. It would be slightly messy, and Perpetual Flame would kill him. But I'm not even joking, because sometimes the Shaman doesn't have Perpetual Flame, and you just bash them about with your minions, and the game ends before the Shaman can actually do much. And I actually quite like that approach. Just shut your eyes and hope it all goes away is actually not a bad approach as the priest in this matchup, I feel.
Eat that.
Oh no. This is so awkward. This is really awkward.
Yeah, because you really need to kill this note taker.
But everything else, he really wants to play the Twilight Deceptor also.
And he really wants to keep the coin, so he can play Kazakus on 3.
Well, I mean, coin does absolutely nothing here, no matter which way you slice it.
So he's going to have to play, just play a 2-3 here and not get the card and let Kazakus look after the hand size.
Yep.
Oof.
We'll fight back these
And it's a 3-4. Spider Tank.
Mm-hmm. So many spider tanks now in the meta.
Yeah.
It's just become a commonplace. Remember when it first came out? Spider tank, I'm just going to put that in my decks. Now, it was a mech, and you could play it for 2 mana in some situations. But, you know. Imagine you could have a 3-4 for 3 mana, and some of your cards got cheaper, TJ. How broken were those times? Whew. Lots of choices here. Well, not lots, but if you go for the Kazakus, what do you take? Probably 5s and not much fun?
I don't know if you'd take 5.
Now he can.
Yeah.
So now he can
think-
take 5s.
I think you just have to play your minions in this situation, as rough as it sounds. You can't, 1 health and 3 health are pretty much the same in against Shaman. Maybe not so much in this case because of the overdraft. Nalguidan actually could just overdraft and then Feral Spirit, which is insane, actually, that overdraft. But normally, I would say most lists do not run an overdraft. Having a 1 health minion and a 3 health minion is the same, because 3 damage on board from this minion, 3 damage Lightning Bolt, 3 damage Perpetual Flame, 3 damage Serpentine Portal. All those are the same. So I think you can, in most situations, look at this as a 2-3 instead of a 2/1. And then it makes more sense to just play it on the board instead of trying to go for a setup turn, because you can't really go for setup turns with Shadow Priest unless your opponent has no health.
Alright, well, this isn't over yet. Quite often when you play the Priest, you see the Feral Spirits and you're like, alright, next game. But this is where the Kazakus does give some longevity to your board. Yep. A couple of 5/5s, especially if it is a couple of 5/5s, can swing this about. Nalguidan down very low on cards. There's a chance. And Dimitri's played this well by, like you were saying, playing his minions on curve. Especially as they were bad minions that weren't really doing anything, but that's got him into this position nicely now.
Deal 3.
Yeah. Just get in the right spot.
I don't know if I like the raised it in that situation. Reason being is because I don't think he's going to be attacking face very much. If he waits next turn to raise dead, he might have a Kazakus in the pool, which is not an upside, that's probably a downside. But if he hits Twilight Deceptor off the raise dead, it's active right away because his own hero has taken damage that turn. This might be a choice just to guarantee the Deceptor, but now he has to spend mana to damage something, to damage somebody, because of the hero power. He'd have to spend like 2 mana to be able to draw a spell from the Raise Dead or Thrive from his deck instead of having it be active right away. So,
yeah, curious to see how he uses it, because it was a conscious choice not to get back Kazakus and to get that Deceptor, but he wanted this. How he uses them.
You got me fired.
oh! I mean, does this game ever happen?
Does this game ever happen? Does this game ever happen? Just pew the right spots here. Okay.
I mean, it's not the worst, but they're absolutely not the best.
Here for the tour?
He's okay, he's okay. So Earth Elemental's only a 7/8 or something, who cares? Only got to do 50 damage, he's already done 0. Yeah, okay, he's struggling a bit. But the Deceptors are going to keep the value coming.
One of them is. There's only one Raise Dead left in the deck. The other ones pick up Thrives, which are completely dead.
Good point. Oh, they're thin the deck out.
Sure, yeah.
I mean, yeah, I'm might be straw clutching.
I mean, the problem is he can't activate it unless he wants to spend 2 mana on a hero power. Wriggling Horror, however, will actually be able to deal with the Earth Elemental. Be exactly 8. In fact, if you Wriggling Horror cured Coltiron Chaplain, it brings the Golem up to 8 health, which means he can value trade. And then he can use the last bit of mana to hero power down the 2/1. And now you don't be left with a 3/4 on board. Dimitri would have a 6/1, a 2/3, and a 2/1, which is pretty darn good. This play. Oh no, this is better. No, this is better. Instead of having a 2/1, a 6/1, and a 2/3, he has a 2/1, a 6/1, and a 2/3. It's exactly the same.
Yeah, when you said it, I actually...
No, it's a 3/4. It's not a 2/3. It's a 3/4. This is better. No, this is better. Yeah, because instead of that being a 2/3, it's a 3/4. Same damage breakpoints. Yeah, nice optimization. I love that. Optimize.
Also needs to do so. Dimitri might get this, you know.
Yeah.
He's got a chance of getting this, which is, I'm saying it like surprise Pikachu man, because it's actually a very hard matchup, and he didn't get a very good start. But now he's at the point where he can actually play Benedictus as a Hearthstone card that might do something. You don't hear that phrase every day. Wait. Okay. I guess.
I mean, what's he going to use that on anyway?
Yeah. Well, there's Fireheart. Get yourself some more mana on that turn. Assume he's playing Fireheart. Everybody plays it, right? It's just the best card. Okay.
Yeah, but it's only one out of...
It's a 0 mana 3/3, I guess is fine, right? Yeah, okay. Protect to the 0/2, which is going to buff minions up a little. Sure.
Just needs to find something big. Primordial Studies. Find like... Steward Scrolls, I guess, is probably the best. It doesn't go on the board right now, but he can help find a spell to craft for the next turn.
Yeah, there's no immediate danger. The danger is that he was somehow getting... I mean, outvalued is a bit strong, but he was somehow being level valued, I guess. And staying level wasn't really what he wanted to be. But yeah, a little bit of value from the Steward next turn, just to make sure nothing crazy happens. And it's just about back under control here for Nalguidan. Plus, we've got to keep an eye on the damage he's actually delivering. We've been keeping an eye on the board, expecting Dimitri to have to break through, but along the way, Nalguidan has actually been chipping away at the damage too. Okay. Play everything but the Void Touch. Do you play the Void Touch well? 7, 8, 9. No, Void Touch is scary. Can't see what the problem is with at least playing the Deceptor. Okay.
A charming composition.
Terrible pickup from Nalguidan. Oh. But there's a lightning storm, and that should end the game completely. So is going to be the end of the game, most likely here, with the lightning storm. He's just going to take his time to make sure that's what he wants to do. And where he's going to deliver this damage, because with the Void Touch on the board, he might actually want to do some attacking to face before doing the trading. Yeah, get that extra piece of damage in there. And still a little bit messy here, just because he's got nothing to do, but he's going to win in 1 or 2 turns from this point. And Dimitri has used his Kazakus, so there's no really good outs here for Dimitri. He's likely to draw some useless, horrible 1/4 or something similar next turn. That's the mean of this deck. Oh, super. Another Thrive in the Shadows. And by Thrive, I think we mean dive. And it looks like it's going to go to 2 games apiece to me. Well, he does get the Kazakus back. He has... I don't think it's going to get anything, so he's got to take a 1 because he needs to play things now. He gets the rush. Can he get... No. Needs to snipe completely here with the 3 damage. I don't think it's going to be enough even if he does. So he's going to eliminate one of the totems first to give himself the maximum chance of this golem hitting. And hope he doesn't die. But even if he doesn't die here, the value trades that Nalguidan can make will still end the game. But my goodness, it's been a bit of a messy game. And Nalguidan tidying this up. Now he's got a 7-7. That'll help him finish the game a bit quicker. The writing's been on the wall for a while. I'm actually impressed here with Dimitri's resolve here. I mean, it doesn't matter. Like, Nalguidan's taking so long here because there's just nothing bad that can happen anyway. Just give me 1 second.
So is little time.
So, Nalguidan, making it very hard to analyze this because he's won next turn and doesn't ever lose here. And Dimitri, I'm not quite sure what he's holding out for here. I'm having a look through the deck list, and I don't see what he could draw there. Like, I guess Traveling Merchant would have been some size, or some cheeky Elucia, which is what was forcing Nalguidan to have to keep playing his minions. And we did see Language Hacker earlier in the day playing Elucia, just hoping up on hope to hit the opposing Perpetual Flame. And I guess Dimitri may have been playing for something similar to that. But Nalguidan was just playing the cards out of his hand to make sure that didn't happen. And yeah, that was why the game took a bit of a weird turn there, because Dimitri had found a way where there was a 1 in a million chance of winning it, and Nalguidan had spotted that 1 in a million chance, so he was taking no chances either. And so it basically never went wrong. But we are going to get into game number 5 to see who goes into tomorrow's semi-final. Let's take a look, and it is going to be the Miracle Druid from Dimitri against the Shaman. And I've played this matchup quite a lot. Blaise was talking to Stottle about this matchup earlier in the week, and I believe that he thought that the Shaman was bad for him. But certainly at my rank, and I'm not DimitriKazov and I'm not Nalguidan, otherwise I'll be going to the World Championships. But in my estimation, the Druid does okay here. It gets plenty of time to hang in there and to do its thing, which is Celestial Alignment. Turn all of your cards into 1 mana cards. Draw them all with an Auctioneer and cast them, then play Cthulhu. That's what the deck is built to do. As it happens, that's not a thing that actually happens very often. You tend to play your Auctioneer, draw through some stuff, maybe you play an Anaconda, drop a couple of bigger things alongside from Cenarian Ward, maybe even with a Solar Eclipse thrown in there. You end up on 500 health, or effective health with the armor thrown in, and then you beat them up with whatever 8 drops you find. In my case, it's always Natalie, because I like 8 wands, and so I roll them, almost obsessively compared to all the other 8 drops. That's just a thing that happens. Anyway, let's have a look at these openers. Nalguidan will be looking to get a bit of board presence, putting the pressure on Druid. That's the Druid class identity these days. That's exactly where you are at with Druid. So if you can stop that, if you can just put the pressure on the Druid, they are start to have to do things they don't want to do and slow down their game plan. But this is a fantastic opening hand here for Dimitri. And by fantastic, I mean it has an overgrowth in it, because that is the key to getting your alignment off early. Let's have a look at how Nalguidan chooses to go about this. I think he will just play minions on curve and put as much pressure as he possibly could on. Right, Dimitri playing the overgrowth. You can play Fungal Fortunes next turn. You can actually play next overgrowth next turn, even more importantly. And that will give him the chance to fungal into win conditions. Might want to be careful because it does discard those minions, but it gets you closer to the bottom of your deck, which is more important than anything, the way that this works out. He does have that Malygos in hand, so if he does pick up the Celestial Alignment, he will be able to start rifling through the Cthulhu options. That clears up the board, and when the board is cleared up, you can get on with doing the rest of the things you want to, as in winning with your alignment, winning with your Cenarian wards. believe I heard a wild Darek appearing. How are you, sir? Thank you for joining in. Hope TJ is okay. Had to rush off in a hurry there. But we are in game number 5, Darek, between Nalguidan and DimitriKazov. And we have the Miracle Druid on Dimitri's side, and we have the Quest Shaman on Nalguidan's side. And he is just curving out the best he can. But Dimitri has played 2 Overgrowths in the first 4 turns, which, you know, that sounds pretty good to me.
Before having ever even found the celestial alignments, as you were saying. But it looks in this instance like, I mean, he's just going to do druidy things. He doesn't even need the alignment here to really get going. And I think he should be able to just dominate the board.
Yeah, Solar Eclipse into Cenarian Ward next turn. It's not GG, but it's a long way there. You gain 16 armor, which he needs because Nalguidan has put the pressure on. And of course you get those 2 8 drops, which are largely, despite my crying, they are largely good things. How have you found this particular matchup, Darek? Because my estimation has been that Druid is fine. I'm not saying it's like massively favoured or anything, but Druid's absolutely fine in this matchup, I think.
Yeah, I think it's just one of the good matchups for Druid, in all honesty. Like, one of the things we saw, or I realized more after casting some of the Shaman in APAC, when I see some really good Shaman players, is obviously they are just dominating the aggro decks. It's kind of the point of the archetype, because you do such broken things in the early game. But I find that against Druid, as a kind of pseudo combo deck, they struggle to put quite enough pressure on. Like, they often get into situations like this, where they're getting you down to about below 10 health, they're far ahead on board, but then you turn the corner. You start actually getting to the point where you're able to get ahead of your opponent, unless this happens. This is, of course, the nightmare scenario with your 8-drop minions. It's not over at all by any means, because he gains 16 health in the process, but is this really how you play Druid over in Americas? This is embarrassing.
I know. I mean, I've picked it up. I roll Natalie every single time, just out of habit. I was just mentioning that actually while you were jumping on. That's just what I get. But in theory, your 8 drops are good. Now, Gideon, some builds of this Shaman deck obviously would have lethal shots now, but he doesn't have. He has 1 overdraft. He has 1 of a lot of things. We didn't get a chance to talk about this, which
yeah,
probably for the best, because he's got a lot of one-offs: 1 Earth Elemental, 1 Dungeoneer, 1 investment opportunity, 1 overdraft. So it's like he couldn't make his mind up. The decks were submitted almost straight after nerfs, to be fair.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because Quest Shaman, like, before the nerfs rolled about, it wasn't so much on my radar. It felt like it was a little bit too weak to all the combo that was there with OTK Demon Hunter rounding things out. Now there is, of course, still Mage and D6 Warlock, but I think it's found specifically in a tournament meta a really nice niche. As I was saying, it's just a way to counteract the Shadow Priest, the Face Hunters, even some of the rogues, you could argue, as Miracle Rogue starts making its way back, but that is, I think, still a bit of a dubious one.
Yeah, I'm interested to see if the Shaman, like, is it a one-trick pony, or after a few weeks of optimization, can it actually put a little bit more threat onto the board, as well as being a very good defensive deck? Because we're seeing here one of the weaknesses of it, or it may get over the line here, but that's because Dimitri somehow missed with a Malygos. It doesn't really apply pressure until way too late for it to be an all-around deck, so it might only be a last hero standing deck going forwards.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. It's going to be, what, a couple weeks now before we get back to last hero standing with the Masters Tour next week. But I think it's really interesting to see the difference between last hero standing and conquest. Like in APAC, in my opinion, there's a very, very harsh divide between the good last hero standing lineups and the ones that are just conquest lineups, to be honest, rather than optimized for last hero standing. And you can just see it in how it plays out. Like, if the Japanese players, I feel like, always have a counter to whatever counter their opponent has, and as long as they win the first game of the series, it looks good. I'm not sure how it is so much in Americas this week, but it's interesting to see the divide.
Yeah, Americas has been pretty much along that line, although, to be fair, most of the Americas players have put in a very good last hero standing showing. Obviously, we've got quite a lot of the old guard in Americas, so they're used to last hero. and our newbies have actually picked up Last Hero quicker than I would have expected, to be perfectly honest. So very impressed with the lineups this week overall. Nobody's come out with anything particularly amazing, apart from Muzzy, who just resubmitted his lineup from last week, because of course he did.
That I am a fan of. That is classic Muzz. But I'm also very happy getting to cast Nalguidan and DimitriKazov. As again, approaching the kind of end point of this game, Nalguidan's still making incredibly strong tempo plays despite there being no Brukan being played yet. It's still only second quest completion, right? It's not often that you're able to keep up with the Druid once they reach 10 mana. If you haven't already played Brukan, but Nalguidan is doing a tremendous job of exactly that. And the pressure is too high. The Celestial Alignment simply cannot be played. Nalguidan's done exactly what you need to do in the matchup.
Yep, without that Perpetual Flame, Dimitri thought he was going to get away with it. He's going to have sort of an okay board against an okay board, maybe get low on health and win because he recovers from the alignment so much quicker. But Nalguidan did save the card. He did manage to get everything sorted out. And now, without an incredible run of craziness, which this Druid really doesn't have, and it's just not going to get it done. And it looks like Nalguidan's going to add to his points from last week and to the 5 points he got for winning season number 1.
Yeah, it's looking like a great start for him. All things considered, DimitriKazov, it's a rough loss for him to take. I mean, he was even tweeting out, if my Spanish is correct, on Twitter, imagine not banning Druid. So clearly puts a lot of stock in the deck, and I think correctly so. I really, really like its inclusion in this week because it on average does stand up well enough against the Quest Shaman as another very popular archetype. But here, at this point, it's becoming apparent that it's just not quite strong enough for DimitriKazov to get the win, and it's a brutal way to go out.
Now Godin's going to take it down, Dimitri's going to go out, and he's just not had much luck on camera games over the last sort of 3 or 4 weeks, including DreamHack, as Dimitri. And you said it, like he had a great start, and you thought maybe that's what you were doing wrong. Well, it turns out that you've got to get the third part right, which is not have a disaster with your Malygos and miss all your alignments. Nicely played from Nalguidan. He goes to another Sunday, Derek, and I mean, you're spying really at this point on your potential world championship contenders. You'll be reporting back to the APAC players, I'm sure, with some sort of fervour going on there.
Yeah, with all my findings here from the Americas region. Who knows? Yeah, a rough term for DimitriKazov. That puts him, at 3 points over the first 2 weeks, with only getting 1 in the previous week. It's okay, you know, it's the kind of start that you could work with. It's not like you are already set for relegation or that kind of mid spot that nobody really wants to be in. But it's not the rip-roaring start that you want to get off to really start solidifying your spot, getting through to the playoffs. But well done to Nalguidan. Always a fan of him and excited to see what he can do with his lineup in the days to come.
Yeah, let's have a look at what that means for the bracket. It's not overly complicated if you've been here since the start, but maybe you haven't. So that means that he will be playing Fled in the semi-finals tomorrow, guaranteeing us, as always, pretty much these days, a LATAM finalist. But what we will have for you very soon is Kalis Luna versus Dreadeye. Kalis Luna won the group last week and beat Dreadeye in the quarterfinals. Can he repeat that this week? Well, if you want to know that, maybe you'll have to tune in after the break to find out.
Yeah, it's been an interesting run for Kalis Luna. What he tweeted out that